Hello, everyone. I'm Seray Ergene, and I'm an assistant professor at the College of Business Management area. In this presentation, it's very short, but I'll briefly introduce myself, my research, and how I end up envisioning a circular textile industry in Rhode Island. So I'm a social scientist by training, and I study broader social and material processes around sustainability. In my past research, I studied a large fashion company's sustainability initiative, its internal transformation, organizational transformation around sustainability that required changes in processes internally with their supply chains, and as well as the materials they used, obviously. And I also followed one of their supply chains more in-depth ethnographically, all the way from cotton farms until those cotton seeds become a t-shirt in a cutting and sewing facility. This was a long and very in-depth research, and I got to see all these phases, all the processes within these production facilities, from spinning, knitting, dyeing, dye house, and cutting and sewing, and so on. They're all over there. So that gave me a perspective. That gave me a perspective in terms of, I get to learn all about how things are produced, what it takes, what kind of work goes into all these simple t-shirt. We say simple. And also, aside from that, I also learned about the environmental consequences of that, production, especially the water use and toxicity. We all know. So, and aside from that, that's the production side. What happens after the t-shirt leaves from the factory floor? I, read all about the waste issue and so on. So, that was overwhelming for me. And after I joined URI, I became involved with ocean plastics research that Professor Snyder and Professor Asplund was introduced earlier. So I currently studying interviewing stakeholders and understanding their concerns about plastics, their problems they encounter about plastics in Rhode Island, especially in Narragansett Bay. So this is an ongoing research. But connecting back to my past research, we know that as I think Professor Asplund mentioning, 85% of microplastics pollution in Rhode Island is actually coming from textile fibers waste. So here are some more facts. 150 billion new clothing items produced annually. Less than 1% of those materials used to produce clothing is recycled into new clothing. In the US, 85% of textile waste ends up in landfill or incinerator, and that's about 17 million tons in 2017. So these data is actually, I pulled from a report prepared for Eileen Fisher Foundation, who are trying to lead this industry process. And that report is written by Pentatonic Consulting. And they identify that there's actually a bright side economically, that existing recycling technologies have the potential to drive 80% circularity in the fashion industry if fully scaled. Obviously, this is worldwide. Utilizing textile waste helps scale recycling to create $10 to $20 billion market. This is their estimation, so there is opportunities. So can we envision tackling textile waste in Rhode Island, following my predecessors? So more from this report, they suggest 8 priority areas that we can start doing that. Developing or scaling collection and sorting infrastructure, investing in recycling infrastructure, we know that we have it here in Rhode Island. Reducing production and consumption, establishing comprehensive cross-sector collaboration, designing for durability and recycling, promoting industry standardization and universal definitions, divesting from fossil fuels, changing the metrics of success. So these 8 areas are recommended for not only creating a circular economy, circular textile industry, but also responding to climate change for net zero, achieving net zero emissions. It's overwhelming, definitely. But I think, we can start doing things in Rhode Island. We have already have an infrastructure for, we need to develop or scale more collecting and sorting infrastructure. I think that's a foundational place to begin. Invest more in recycling infrastructure and establishing comprehensive cross-sector collaborations, that's for sure, all throughout the value chain. And I'll leave you with a question. What would it take to move toward a circular textile industry in Rhode Island? Thank you.